If the Cubs trade Justin Steele, well, maybe they'll still draw, but that would be an outcry.
Back on FT. Always great to see our FT Senior Insider in person. That's one of the best parts of the All-Star game. Ken Rosenthal with us right now, and you'll hear him on the game on Fox later. Ken, how you doing? And you got anything good for us for the game later?
Yes, but I can't reveal. No, it's going to be good. And it's going to be good because of Skeens, I think. It's so different to have a guy like that starting the game and so much talk around him that I'm actually more excited for this one than usually.
And especially the start of the game,
yes.
Right?
The fact that he's starting the game and we know he's going to face Kwan and Henderson and Soto and maybe Judge, that is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Do you agree with the decision to put him at the front of the game?
Totally.
And are you cool with the other side too, with Corbin?
Yes, and to me, this is not just the best players, it's a marketing event too. So if Skeens doesn't have the most starts or the most innings, I'm good with it. He is the hot guy right now. He's the it guy. And for those reasons, he belongs there. And I remember years ago, this must have been 20 years ago, it was a war to get Dontrell Willis, who was the Paul Skeens of his time, into the game, just into the game. Now, at least the sport gets that we need this kind of thing. And as for Corbin Burns, obviously Scuba would have been a worthy choice too, and you would have had a young pitcher against a young pitcher. It's cool. But Corbin Burns, to me, the same kind of entertainment value, part of a big trade with a first-place team, going to be a big free agent. So I see that as a logical choice.
But who was in the way? Who was in the way before, or who pushed this through?
I think it was more of an old school, you've got to earn it kind of thinking.
Dirt in your cleats?
Yeah, and I understood it at the time, but for this game alone, it's not about that kind of thing. It's not about, hey, he's got to have the best ERA. We have other measures and other things we do for that. This, to me, is pure entertainment. Put the best product on the field for tonight.
How much do you think that the no-hitter right there at the end had to do with this decision?
I guess, Trevor, if he hadn't pitched well that day, maybe it's different.
Maybe it's different.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was tilting that way even before.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the near no-hitter, the 7 innings, that was obviously outstanding. I mean, the guy's 6-0 with a 1.90. It's not like he's just coming out of the sky here, you know?
Yeah. Who makes the decision, though, to start him? Is that Torey Lovello, or is that the league?
I think it's the league.
The league saying,
I know Torey's taking responsibility for it. I'm sure he had a say, a voice in it. And Torey gets this kind of thing. But it seems to me the league stepped forward here. The league, certainly with the announcement and the timing of the announcement, that was the league. And I was shocked when they announced it Friday. That's never happened before. It's always yesterday. It's always the day before the game. They have the press conference. Here are the starters. But the league wanted to build some buzz, and, hey, good for them.
They did something right.
Yeah, did something right.
For all the shots we've taken at them,
no doubt,
they did this right.
Yes.
And that's good.
Yes.
Because people are going to want to watch.
I would think people are going to tune in. Yeah.
Because people know Paul Skeens. They know Livy Dunn. They know the whole story.
Right.
He was in LSU last year, and here he is starting the – now, it'd be cool if he was on the home team, and he top of first, here he comes. You got to wait, but – it's still pretty awesome that MLB went and made a right decision.
I'm totally with you, AJ.
Did they do the Derby right? And I will also
Did
add,
they do the anthem right? Let's start with that.
Well, we're going to get into that on FT later on too. But did they do the Derby right with the format? And also, I know you pointed out how there was a lack of star power. I really felt that.
Yeah, it turned out well. The ending was great.
Sure.
Teo over Bobby Witt and the ball going to the wall. That was awesome. It did lack star power for me. I thought the rules were fine. I'm not a Derby guy. I'm not like all excited about it. I love that people like it. It's cool, but it doesn't do much for me one way or the other. At the same time, I thought it was entertaining and it was fine. And it would be helpful if some of the bigger stars were available. Some of them just weren't.
Yeah.
Or willing to be part of that.
Catch us up on what's next. So last week you said, hey, there's probably going to be a draft pick traded. We gave you credit, nailed that. There was a draft pick traded leading up to the draft. And for the crowd, obviously watching on Valley Sports, YouTube, etc., they're like, when do the trades begin? So usually, I think you've talked about this in the past. Once the draft ends, there is a shift of focus now
Yes.
to scouting players.
Yes. Not so much scouting, although that's taking place, but the conversations among front office people shift. They've been locked in on the draft, and rightly so, until yesterday or today. And now maybe they take a 1 day breather and then go forward with some serious trade conversation. I expect that most of it will take place, as it always does, at the very end. That's the nature of a deadline. It kind of forces the action. But we saw the Hunter Harvey trade a couple of days ago, and I would expect also one or two or three in the days leading up to it, maybe even as soon as this weekend. I'm not hearing anything specific. I don't want to mislead anybody, but it's just the way these things normally go.
Ken, we had. I'm interested to hear what you think about this. What your general vibe is, because we had Moylan pop on the show yesterday and talk about how he's a little bit lukewarm on how he thinks this thing is going to play out. He thinks there's going to be maybe smaller moves made and maybe some disappointed teams. And I, after thinking about it myself, I'm anticipating some. I'm not anticipating a big Cespedes in 15 type of trade, but I'm interested to hear what you're thinking, especially in the NL when like every team's still in it.
Right. We're not going to see a Soto trade. We're not going to see a Scherzer Turner trade, I don't think. That said, every year people say, it's going to be dead. It's not going to be as lively as it should be. And every year we see a good amount of action. I do expect a good amount of action. Maybe not the big names that we've seen at
Shuffling,
certain
maybe
years.
more.
Shuffling, because the GMs, as conservative as they often are, they're also itchy. And they also know that, they can get ripped for making a trade, but they can also get ripped for not making a trade. And more importantly than getting ripped, you don't make a trade for a team that's in contention. You guys, the players, then you have to answer to that room. And that's a dynamic that's quite unusual in this sport, and it forces the issue. So I do expect things will happen, and I don't know about volume compared to previous years, but I still expect it to be active. Yes.
Well, who do you? We've kind of dug into this a little bit before. Who's the big name that you think is going to go? The biggest name guy that you say he's more than likely. I can't say anyone's going to get traded, but who's the one guy you're like he's the most likely?
Crochet,
Crochet.
in my opinion. And I don't know for sure that he moves, but I would expect that happens because there's a lot of momentum for it. There's such a lack of starting pitching available. Now, I know he might not be a starter the rest of the year. I get it. But he will be for the next 2 years, and he's going to help your bullpen at the very least this year and maybe take the mound for a playoff game. So it seems to me there's going to be a lot of momentum there, and there's going to be a lot of interest from various teams. There are so many teams, guys, that not just need starters, but are almost desperate for starters. And I'll tell you which ones. Baltimore, for sure. Cleveland, for sure. Houston is another one. Boston, they could use a starter. And then in the National League, Milwaukee, I don't know if they'll do it, but they should be desperate. And then the Dodgers and the Padres also. That's 7 teams in, I would say, dire need. And then there are a number of other teams that have just a simple need. Yeah.
We talk about being like, okay, well, this is happening, so they're going to make this type of move. Orioles and the Dodgers kind of backed into the All-Star break. They had their needs, like you said. Did anything in those last 2 series make you think or you hear that they're shifting? Like, okay, wow, we didn't know we knew we needed starting pitching. We didn't know we needed bullpen help like we do because they let games slip away.
Dodgers did, yes. I would expect that the Dodgers knew even before that they needed bullpen help. And maybe that exacerbated it in their minds that, hey, this is not going as well as it should. But it's amazing to me. You spend $1 billion in an offseason and you're still full of holes. It's incredible. And even the Orioles, they're really good. But they're in dire need of a starting pitcher, not just for the rest of this season, but beyond, because Corbin Burns is not coming back. And you've got Grayson Rodriguez, Dean Kramer, and Povich, they're under control for next season, but those are the only current members of the rotation who are. Bradish is hurt. He's going to be out. So Crochet for them makes all the sense in the world. They have position player prospects that the White Sox badly need. I'm not saying it's going to happen for sure. Things, can go either way, but that is an obvious match right there.
One of the names that you came out with was Jazz Chisholm.
Yes.
Jazz, you're saying will be moved, and he played second base the other day.
Yes.
Is that
what are we doing here, guys?
Is that a sophomoric reminder that, oh, hey, guys, don't forget the fact that he plays second base, or is it just something that happens?
It's not sophomoric. It's a blatant reminder that we are willing to trade him as a second baseman. And I don't know that I recall anything that naked. I mean, to me, that was the most obvious thing in the world. And the Marlins, we know who they are. We know what they want to do, and it's to move anybody making money. And that's why I expect Jazz would go. Luzardo would have gone. Tanner Scott certainly is going to go. He's a potential free agent. But they're going to make some moves, no question.
What are the Marlins doing? Because I know they brought in – they
Tearing
made the
it down,
playoffs last year.
Yep.
But they didn't even try. Like, normally you at least try the next year to repeat and make the playoffs again.
Yeah.
Instead, they brought in Peter Bendix, right?
Well, they brought in
They
Bendix.
signed Anderson.
They
The
did.
second
Tyler
attempt.
Anderson.
Yeah.
They signed Tyler Anderson, Trevor said.
Tyler Anderson.
Tim Anderson.
Tim
Sorry.
Anderson.
Tim Anderson.
They brought in Bendix to basically tear it down and build a sustainable contender.
But I thought
They
that's
didn't
what
think it
Kim
was
Ng had just
sustainable.
done when they made the playoffs.
With no payroll.
And Jeter did it too, remember, for a
Sure.
long time.
People act like with them, oh my gosh, they couldn't have just kept going. Why not? Now, I know they had structural problems. Their infrastructure wasn't great. There's a lot they have to do. Farm system, international scouting, they had to keep going on. But doesn't mean you can't compete at the major league level. A major league organization should be able to do 2 things at once, 3 things at once, 4 things at once. And they took this approach. We want to be Tampa Bay. We want to bring it all the way back and then build back up again. That's fine, but you better execute it, and it's going to be difficult for them to do.
And that's been the Marlins, though, forever.
Right.
Right? 97, they've never won a division. They've won 2 World Series. They get there, they win it. Everyone's gone. 03, they build it up, win. Everyone's gone. That's been over 20 years now.
Yeah.
And here they go again. They didn't even win they got to the playoffs, but they didn't win anything in the playoffs.
I mean, when you make the playoffs, to me, that's the first step toward a positive period, a window being open, for lack of a better term. And yet they chose to close it. And it was an ownership call, clearly. Kim goes, and Kim clearly had some differences with ownership about maybe direction. Jeter had differences with them before that about direction. And it comes down to spending money. And the owner doesn't want to spend money, and this is where you are.
Can you name a team that you are going to be watching very closely, results-wise, on the field over the next few weeks? We talked about this a million times. Like, who are the buyers? Who are the sellers? The next few weeks will decide that for some of these fringe, probably NL teams especially.
Texas.
Oh, AL, okay.
And I looked yesterday, Texas, the Cubs, and the Rays are all between 12 and 17% playoff odds. Not very good. Now, each of those teams played a little bit better toward the break, and you can kind of think, okay, it's not over. Diamondbacks were 13% mid-August last year. But Texas, if they choose to, can almost control the deadline. They've got 2 relievers that people want, Yates and Robertson. They've got starting pitching that they can move. They can move Evaldi, who's going to vest his option most likely. They can move John Gray, who's signed for next year. And position players too, Nathaniel Lowe and Leotis Taveras. There's a lot they can do. I'm not saying they will, but that's a team to watch for me.
Okay. And on the National League side, I mean, I know a lot of fans are asking about the Cubs. Now, I think we've talked about this. It's not just what happens with them, but also what kind of pieces can they sell that are actually going to be worth kind of punting on the season, even if, like, let's say they're 5 or 6 games back by the deadline.
That's my question with them. What are they going to sell? Cody's hurt, and he would have been difficult to trade anyway because of those player options.
Good.
I don't expect them to do anything really dramatic like throw Justin Steele out there, though that would get them a ton. But where are you doing? Where are you going if you do that? So I'm not sure if they can do anything but stay in it. Maybe try to upgrade a little bit and hope they get hot. I don't know how the other side looks of that for them.
Hey, what's the drop dead day for some of these teams? You talk about Texas, right, and where they're at. You talk about the Cubs. Like, let's say the Cubs go out and win 7 in a row after the All-Star break.
What happened last year, essentially.
Yeah, and they went and got Candelario,
Yeah.
right, instead of selling their guys.
I would say the 28th.
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 So you got about 10 ish games before
These are
the
playoff games
okay.
for those teams, in a sense, because it's going to decide their course. Now, the Rays are another interesting team because they can trade Eflin, they can trade some of their relievers, Fairbanks, and maybe they can bring in guys too and still compete. They're always interesting to watch, and they're in a funny position too. They're kind of a 500 team, hasn't really played well the whole year. So that's another team in that same kind of bucket where they have to be watched closely. Yeah.
Okay. The Rays always do this, though.
Yep.
They're like, oh, we're going to trade somebody, and then we're going to bring people in. And
Yep.
somehow they still sneak into the postseason, or they're right there till the end. And everybody wants to be the Rays. And it's like, if you breathe the oxygen in Tropicana Field, then you're automatically hired for another team. So it's just amazing that how they do this all the time.
You know what's interesting about them, guys? Sometimes executives from big market teams will say, I sort of wish I could be them. They're not under the same kind of scrutiny as other teams. There's not much media there. There's one paper in Tampa Bay right now, one paper. And the fans, it's not like they're filling the place. So it's not like their attendance is going to tank if they make moves. If they trade Eflin, fine. The attendance will be the same the next day. If the Cubs trade Justin Steele, well, maybe they'll still draw, but that would be an outcry. It's not that way with Tampa Bay. It gives them a freedom that other teams don't have.
It also feels like if Texas did that, there might be an outcry from their fans after winning.
Yes, but the only thing is, AJ, they've got the World Series championship in the bank.
True.
And
all right, so
they've shown that.
Another team I'm interested in is San Diego Padres. Okay, last question for you before we go. How long have you been wearing the Tivas when you walk around San Diego? Because I saw Ken in shorts and Tivas the other day with a T-shirt on. And I was like, casual Ken on Saturday.
Is that a
Casual
question
Ken
about
with
the
a-
Padres? Or
with
No,
a
no,
K.
with the Padres, but I knew it would draw you in.
He baited you in with the Padres.
Yeah.
Casual
I don't even
Ken.
think, AJ, what I was wearing on my feet had a brand name. They're like from a flea market. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Knockoff Tivas.
They were knockoff.
They
They're
weren't-
not even brand
whatever
name.
you just said they weren't that.
Yeah, he's just giving me my next task. I will work on a sandal sponsorship
That's
for
what they look
fair
like.
territory.
They look like the old Tivas with the
Yeah.
Velcro
Yeah, I
all
know
over
what
them.
you
You
mean.
know?
They had Velcro
These
on
are
it. Accurate call.
Is that casual, Ken?
It's great that AJ's checking me out head to toe.
Yes, he was
Now, he
very
doesn't have very
excited.
far to go. I know, AJ.
Gotta be
Not a
yourself,
great
man.
distance.
I was just
Wow.
so shocked when I saw you. I was like, whoa, Ken does wear other things.
Yes.
AJ, I
Casual
always
Ken.
tell you, man, you don't know the true me.
Well, that's because you'll never do anything other than go to the ballpark.
That's true. Can't argue that.
I mean, I saw you on an airplane. We shared an airplane. You didn't speak to me. You walked by me like you didn't even know who I was. So, I mean, I get
It's
it.
grinding, man.
He is. He's
Grinding
grinding.
on that 7 a.m.
I
flight.
was, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I was writing. Yeah.
You can also, of course, always catch Ken on Fair Territory Mondays and Thursdays. Thursdays are live with Milano Rizzo. Ken, great to see you in person.
Two guys. Great seeing you, man.
We'll be right back on FT in Arlington. And FT fam, we're staying here to introduce a new sponsor. I am wearing their shirt. Trevor is often wearing their shirts. Eric and AJ,
Currently wearing their
do you have
shirt.
one on now?
I
there you go.
Sure. Yeah.
wear their shirts. What about me?
I will hook you up.
One of my most exciting moments was last year I walked into Chicago, and right there on Oak Street, there's a Viore. And I was like,
Good one.
they have a store?
They do. That's where I got
Yes.
this shirt.
In your
It's a
city,
good one in
too?
Chicago,
It's
too.
a big one.
It's a real good one in Chicago.
I mean, if you're going to be in Chicago and you want to sell
better,
things, like that's
You gotta be flashy.
nice. I didn't know they had a store.
There's a store in
Yeah.
New York City, too. That's where I
There's
went.
supposed to be open one in Orlando.
They're getting one?
There's a sign in the mall that says they're doing it.
Well, we know who's going to be the cardboard cutout face.
Scott.
Scott, yes.
I'm not the mayor. They better put the mayor on there.
His face, your body.
Love that.
So it's a new perspective on performance apparel, and everything is designed to work out in, but it doesn't look or feel like that. So you can just wear it anywhere. You can wear it on FT like we're doing right now. So comfortable. You're going to want to wear it all the time. It's comfier than whatever you're probably wearing right now. And I'll shout out what I wear often on flights. I've got the shirt today, but the Sunday Performance Jogger, which is a fresh take on athleisure and a staple in your wardrobe, designed to keep you moving with less bulk around your ankles. But this was a fun one because when we said we were going to partner with Viore and we started texting the FT fam, Trevor's like, cool, I already wear Viore basically all the time. And then other people were like, I want more Viore. So now I'm going to use the show code, which is FOUL, F-O-U-L. So we are offering 20% off your first purchase. You got to go to the website, viore.com/foul, VUORI.com/FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. And you can enjoy free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns. Again, when you use the website, you got to go to this specific site, VUORI.com/foul, FOUL, and discover the versatility of Viore clothing. So thanks to them for being a big sponsor of FT for the rest of the summer.
Hey everybody, be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.